Welcome back to Turn Friday into Erev Shabbos, generously sponsored by Mendes Bora Fishman, Rivka Basi Bora Fredel, and in memory of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Rabbi Yaakov Tzivon David Aryeh. This Turn Friday into Erev Shabbos is sponsored by Sarah Mellon in honor of her father's yahrzeit, Gil Ben Yechiel. Gil and I learned together for many years, and I didn't even know it. He was listening online before he got sick, and I had the privilege to meet him, although unfortunately too late to truly know him, but his neshamos should have an aliyah. He should be. I know he's having where he is a lot of nachas from his incredible daughter, Sarah. Today is not Friday. It feels like Friday, but it's actually Erev Shabbos, and there's a big difference between Friday and Erev Shabbos. And we are here to turn our Friday into Erev Shabbos. We last left off. We're learning Ravitcha Meyer Morgenstern Bayam Darkecha, and we talked about to be in an elevated state. We come to the Shabbos table and there's all kinds of delicacy and food and drink and china and fine silver. And one can get confused. One could be mistaken in thinking that they're in this world. They're enjoying part of the physical world. And we talked about how do we elevate the entire avira of the Suda, the environment, the atmosphere, the attitude. How do we elevate it? How do we elevate it in our dress? Don't dress down. Don't be more comfortable. Don't change your clothing. Come to the table that it's a distinguished table, an elevated table, that it's a Suda de Malka Kadisha. This is a melech of the meal of the Holy King, a skina Sudasa de Malka, Sudas Melech. This is a state dinner, a distinguished, elevated dinner in our attitude, in our mentality, in our dress, in our speech, in all that we do. And then he continues, and what a fascinating point he makes now. If a Jew comes to the Shabbos table, if your experience on Shabbos is that you are clinging to, you're stuck to, you're identified with the elevated, exalted state, you're at a state dinner. It's magnificent. It's beautiful. It's incredible. You could eat and you can enjoy. And the fact that you're enjoying and eating delicacies and delicious foods and imbibing delicious beverages and drinks will not turn you into some physical material being. It will not diminish or lower you. Talk about a groom, a bride and a groom on their wedding day. Now, all of our weddings and those who are waiting to get married, please God, should meet and find their bashert and celebrate a beautiful simcha. And even though we don't want anything extravagant, all of us at our wedding wanted a nice shmorg, tasteful food, delicious meal that people would go home and remember fondly. So on the one hand, we cared that it be elevated, beautiful, maybe centerpieces, maybe certain courses, maybe certain shmorg, maybe certain stations, maybe certain food. We wanted that. We wanted it because the atmosphere it would create. We wanted that because it would elevate the entire event. The whole wedding would be more beautiful and more celebratory. On the other hand, ask a chassan and kala, do you remember the meal? Do you remember the menu? Do you remember what this tasted like or that tasted like or the other thing tasted like? They probably barely ate. And if they did eat, they understood the eating was just to get back on the dance floor. The eating was just to be able to have the energy to continue to be at the highest levels of simcha. Highest levels of simcha. They ate, and there was food, and there was taste. Because at a wedding, while you want it there to elevate the evening, while you want it there so the guests enjoy, while you want it there so it's exalted, but on the other hand, it's not what you remember. It's not the main thing. It's not what you take away. When a person is with something very high, when you're in a very high place, in a very high state, and you're ambitious and striving for very high things, then you're not brought down, you're not lowered, you're not focused on, you're not defined by that which is low. They're there, and you're enjoying them, and you don't have to apologize. You don't have to be defensive about enjoying them. They're there, enjoying beautiful geschmack, but it's not what creates the memory. It's not what you take away. And there are levels on levels, says Richard Meyer. The main thing is that when we want our children to graduate our home, when we want our guests to remember what that Shabbos meal was like, we don't want them to remember, and then you serve this, and you had this level wine in this age, and I drank it out of this glass. Yes, if they remember that too, it's also beautiful. I remember the food was delicious. Certainly compliment those who make it. I remember it was delicious, and thank you for all the effort that went into it. But the conversation, the zemiros, the songs, the divrei Torah, that's what I really remember. That's what I really took away. And so as we turn Friday into Erev Shabbos, that's the challenge I issue to you and to myself. How can we plan for tonight and tomorrow that our meals will be ones that are delicious and magnificent, like the wedding we had or we want, but where the food is not the main thing. The food is not what creates the memories. Yes, we went to weddings where, wow, we're blown away, the menu, the food, the stations. But you know what I remember the most? The dance floor. You know what I remember more? The simcha, chassan and kala, the joy. How can our Shabbos table, our Shabbos atmosphere, our Shabbos home, that's why it's brought down in the benchers, zemiros, the first zemer, dahi su'udasa de malka kadisha. This is the meal of the Holy King. Tishar midadedes chol ha'su'uda. That should inform and animate and inspire the whole meal. That this is a meal, yes, we're enjoying delicious things. Yes, it's comfortable. Yes, it's kishmak. Yes, it's delicious. Yes, it's amazing. But we're at a state dinner, an elevated dinner, an exalted evening. And the intangibles, it's the intangibles that create those memories. It's the intangibles that create that feeling that is the Suda of the Malka Kadisha. It's the intangibles. And the intangibles don't happen on their own. They take work, they take effort, they take prep. That's our job. It's our job of the people in the kitchen, but the job of the people who never step foot in the kitchen. Show appreciation, gratitude. We want a delicious meal. But are we working to prepare that the intangibles are as delicious as the tangibles? Are we working to prepare? There's something to say, there's something to sing, there's a conversation, there's a story, that there's a feeling, Yish Madrega, there's another higher level. It's not just the general atmosphere is spiritual. Harosh mamash emunach bedvekos b'sham hu meruchaz. Our head is clinging. That's where we are. It's Shabbos. Shebiyachadem tainug haneshama hu nosen gam oneg leguf v'zeh begeder tafel. Now there's a chassan and kala. The bride and the groom are sitting at the head table, the bridegroom table, and they're enjoying it. It's delicious, the delicacy. But all along they're thinking, we just got married. And we're in love, and we're building a life together, and this is amazing. I can't believe who I'm sitting next to. Yes, I'm eating. Yes, it's delicious. Yes, I want to enjoy, but it's tafel. The bride and groom are never confused that the meal, they're not at some fancy restaurant. The meal is not what they saved up for. The meal is not what's supposed to create the memory. The meal is enhancing. The meal is elevating, but the meal is never mistaken for being the main thing. Ki haklalu masha ruchnius tofesas makom, kacha gashmius ze zaz hatzeda. If the ruchnius takes up place, that is the point. We'll pick up with next time. But that's our work. That's our work. All of us can work harder and do better and prepare earlier and get to that place. Get to that place together. Have a happy Shabbos, a holy Shabbos, a healthy Shabbos, an elevated Shabbos, a stately Shabbos, a royal Shabbos, a regal Shabbos, a Shabbos that brings with it great besorot.